evening and welcome to another Tapping In session. Our lovely live webinars. Tonight we are doing part 6 out of 6 and we're having a look at accessible tourism and events, how your business can tap in and grow this market. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. We would not like to acknowledge traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and community. We pay our respects to them and their cultures and to elders both past and present. 30 Foot Drop would also like to acknowledge the Department of Communities, Disability Services for funding this and many other initiatives. Without their support, so many projects such as Two Wise Monkeys and the Tapping In program would never actually see the light of day, and as a community we would be much poorer for it. So this workshop is part of the Realities and Advantages of Access and Inclusion grant awarded to 30 Foot Drop as part of the Information Linkages and Capacity Building grants of 2018 to 2019. Okay, a little bit of housekeeping. First up, unfortunately, we do not have the resources to monitor all of our live streams during these sessions. So if you want to interact with us live or ask us any questions, please head to www.30footdrop.com.au/live, and there you will find the chat box along with another live stream. Now, we're also going to be covering a lot of information in a short period, so we recommend that attendees take actions they can to minimise distractions. We'll also be recording this session, so if you can't stay for the whole session, or you know somebody who could really benefit from this and they can't actually make it to our time slots, that's absolutely fine. We record all of our live sessions and we upload them on YouTube and our Vimeo channel. We'll also be referencing research today, and if you want to have a look at the actual papers surrounding these and do a bit of a deeper dive into them, you can find them in the 30 Foot Drop Digital Resource Library. At the end of today's webinar, I really ask you guys if you could fill out a survey. It's 6 questions, 30 seconds. It'll take you hardly any time, but really helps us out. So if you could go to www.30footdrop.com.au/live and scroll down to the bottom and look at webinar number 6 survey. That would be amazing. Thank you. Now, allow me to introduce myself. I am your wise monkey for this evening. My name's Ben, and I am the boss man here at 30 Foot Drop. So, I am see no evil. Now this is because it is very obvious that I have a disability or impairment. Okay, you just look at my hands; they're all kind of a bit munted up. Okay, now that's because I'm actually a C5 quadriplegic. So what you can't see is the fact that I'm in a wheelchair as well, and so it's very obvious that I have a disability or impairment. So how does that make me see no evil? Well, that's because after doing this webinar series, hopefully you will see no evil about disability and impairment, because the information that you will learn will make you realise that, hey, we're just another market like anybody else. My co-presenter Lisa, who isn't here with me tonight, she is hear no evil. Now, I'm not going to ruin her story, but she's hear no evil because she has an invisible impairment. Okay? And just like me, she is hear no evil because you don't know about her impairment until she shares it with you. And with the information you gain here over the webinars, you'll hear no evil about disability impairment. Now normally, there is a third wise monkey. Speak no evil. Who's that going to be? Who is the third wise monkey going to be? It's going to be you guys. With the information that you gain over our webinar series, you will speak no evil about disability and impairment, because we are one hell of a market to both sell your goods and services to and to employ. So, how are we going to get you started on the path of the wise monkey? Well, there's a lot to learn about people with impairment and their potential in regards to accessible tourism and events. So, today's session is all about how businesses can meet the specific needs of this market in order to tap into their business. We'll finish off our focus on tourism and events by having a look at the future. Okay, WA has the potential to grow this market by about 20%. Okay, and we'll have a look at how this can be accomplished. And to finish off the session, we will have an open forum. Okay, and during that time, I'll invite you guys to ask as many questions as you can. So, how are we going to cover this, and what is going to be our teaching method? The answer is fun, experience, and open, honest discussion. Okay, feel free to ask any questions. Okay, none are off limits. Now, you may notice that there is very little written content on my slides. That's because you're here to interact with me. And in order to facilitate that, I really encourage you guys to head to www.30footdrop.com.au/live. Okay, because from there you can actually enter in any questions that you've got. Alright, so before we get started, I want to go over some terminology. Now, the reason that I do this is because there are some words that are used within our society which are being used wrong. And I want to make sure that there's no confusion about that. Okay? So, the first ones that I would like to go over is the difference between a disability and an impairment. So, an impairment is an injury, illness, or congenital condition that it causes or is likely to cause a loss or difference of physiological or psychological function. In short and in simple, an impairment... Sorry, I've got a really itchy arm for some reason. In short, an impairment, okay, is your medical diagnosis. It is how you are different, either physiologically or physically and psychologically, how you are different. So my impairment is that I'm a C5 quadriplegic with post-traumatic stress in remission. Okay, that's how I work differently to what is seen as the normal of society. Now, a lot of people think that's what disability means, but it isn't. Disability actually means the loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level to others due to social and environmental barriers. Okay, so a disability is not the medical difference, it is the barriers that are put in the way that disable them. Because if you actually stop and think about the word disability and its core word, disable, to disable something, okay, is to make it not able to work, to make it not able to complete something, to make it unable to take part. Okay, so whilst my impairment is a C5 quadriplegic, that isn't what disables me. What disables me is barriers such as putting steps into your shop. Okay? Those steps disable me from being able to access your shop. Now, I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, please head to www.30footdrop.com.au/live. Okay? And use the chat box there to ask me any and all questions you guys have got. Okay? Absolutely anything. Next bit of terminology is the difference between access and inclusion. So, a lot of businesses think of access and inclusion as one topic on its own. And what a lot of people lose sight of is the fact that it's actually two completely separate things. Access means something completely different to inclusion. Okay? So let's start off with access. Access refers to the removal or reduction of barriers, both physical and attitudinal, to the participation in the activities and functions of a community. So, to simplify that, at its core, access focuses a lot on the physical world around us. Okay? It is really easily assessed by a checklist, pretty much. There are Australian standards out there that tell you how wide a door has to be, how steep a ramp can be, how big a parking spot needs to be. Okay? That is what access is about. Access is about making sure that your business or your environment around you, okay, is able to be accessed by the most people possible. So it's very, very easy to do, and a lot of businesses and organisations only concentrate on that. But the thing is that it works hand in hand with inclusion. Okay? So inclusion is more a psychological state of being. So where access is physical, inclusion is psychological. Okay? And it's the process whereby every person who wishes to can participate fully in all aspects of an activity or service in the same way as any other member of the community. Now, when I say every person, I mean it. Inclusion is not impairment specific. Okay? Inclusion is for everybody. Okay? And I mean everybody, irrespective of age, impairment, gender, religion, sexual preference, or nationality. Okay? That is what inclusion is. So to me, inclusion is being able to turn up somewhere and know that my opinion is going to be listened to. Know that I am worth the same as everybody else. Know that I'm not going to be ignored. That I can fully participate in every part of it and feel included as part of the community. So hopefully that's cleared up a little bit of terminology for you guys. Once again, if you have any questions, please head to www.30footdrop.com.au/live. Okay? But for now, let's get to the meat of accessible tourism events and how your business or organisation can tap into people with impairment. So yesterday, we discussed the similarities between travellers with impairment and the rest of the population, showing you that there is much overlap. Okay, there is many things that are required that are the same. Okay, there's not a lot of changes that need to be done. Now, despite these similarities to the general population, there are some important differences and specific needs that need to be met. Okay, so travellers with an impairment have a strong tendency to manage the stresses and uncertainties of travel by returning to the same place. Okay, returning to destinations that they know well. As a result, they appear to have a very high incident of repeat visitation and are very loyal customers. Okay, so this is all very important to keep in mind that, you know, if you make these changes, you will gain a very loyal repeat customer base, and repeat customers are gold. Okay, so a lot of this information that I'm going to give to you guys now is from the Accessible Tourism in Victoria and Queensland report. Okay, that can be found in the 30-foot drop digital resource library, and it's amazing. Now, what they found is that there are 3 areas of specific need. Okay, these are specific need for people with impairment that is not currently being met, and actually meeting these needs can be used to attract this market segment. Now, these 3 specific areas are information, planning, and service. Okay, so first up, we're going to have a look at information. So travellers with impairment need more support in planning their experience if they are to travel as much as they wish to, and for it to be an enjoyable experience rather than a stressful one. Okay, as we saw yesterday, the reason why people don't travel is often because it's too stressful or it's just too hard. Okay, as a result of that, more detail in the information that's currently provided is the highest priority for this market, particularly for those with limited mobility. Okay? Now, while this primarily relates to digital sources such as websites and review sites, it can also refer to information anywhere travellers look in destination, for example, in your information centres. Okay? So, they need more information. But more than just having long documents with complex information that don't really make sense, okay? What they found is that the information needs to be the following, okay? This market segment needs information that is relevant, okay? So most places already have different measures in place. Let them know by putting it on your website and profile such as TripAdvisor, okay? The information needs to be easy to find and absorb. Now, this specifically relates to accessible tourism information, which is often not prominently displayed and is often very complex. As we discussed in a previous session, this is a decisive market segment, okay? And they are more likely to stop a transaction if they cannot find what they need, okay? So it needs to be relevant, okay? It needs to be relevant to people with impairment. The information needs to be easy to find and absorb. And the next one, it needs to be well structured. Okay? So rather than a 50-page document with all of the information, breaking it down to Okay, sorry. Instead of it being a large document, okay, look at breaking it down into smaller logical parts. Okay. For example, you can have one part on how the person or the traveller with impairment can let you, the operator, know what their needs are. Okay. Another one you can do is on where the access ramps and toilets are located within your premises. Okay. By having a map of these things, these accessibility requirements, people will build confidence in you. They'll go, wow, I've really thought this through. Brilliant. Okay. So it needs to be well structured. And now the last one, it needs to be relatable. Okay? So when choosing accommodation, attractions or experiences, okay, including a range of images that cover the breadth of impairments could help the potential traveller feel they are choosing an option that caters for them. Okay? As we discussed in part 4, okay, when you can relate to the marketing material is there, you subconsciously feel welcomed, and as a result, you're more likely to choose that product or service. So having your marketing include these images in a diverse marketing sense, and if you will actually really help. Now, if the word diverse marketing is confusing you, I really encourage you to go back and have a look at webinar number 4 out of 6, where we cover diverse marketing in detail. Okay? Really, really well worth watching. Now, so those are the 4 key things that the information needs to be. So let's have a look at some specific finding from the reports and see how it relates to information. So first up, when asked what the number 1 priority to drive accessible tourism is, the most mentioned was information provision. Okay, so this is the market being asked, how can we better serve you? Okay, and the people are answering information. That was the number 1 most mentioned topic. Okay, if you make it easy to find, i.e. the information easy to find and highly accessible, then you increase the chances of attracting them to your business. 41% of people who were surveyed for this wanted information contained on review sites like TripAdvisor that is relevant to travellers with specific needs. Once again, you make it easy to find. You put it on a major website like that, and you actually make it relevant, and you make it easy to find and absorb. You make it well structured and relatable. Okay, you will be able to attract this market. An item that was brought up many times was the idea of introducing an accreditation system that shows businesses that have made the commitment and implementation of accessible travel systems. Okay, now this is something that is very near and dear to my heart, is putting together an accessibility accreditation. It would really be a major boon to this business because it allows people with specific needs to know at a glance whether you're going to meet their needs. Now, when asked what the priority for the improvements to this market were, 86% rated the addition of more practical information as important. Okay, so this, as we said before, includes things like the location of aqua bays, toilets, access ramps, more information that specifically relates to impairments. Okay, and last up, 83% want an increased prominence of this information on tourism and transport websites. Okay, like I said, it was the number 1 most mentioned priority for this market when it comes to improving it. Let's listen. Okay, let's do it. You'll be amazed. So that's information. Okay, basically we need more information. Next specific area of need is planning. Okay, so people with impairment, especially those with mobility issues, have specific needs that, if not met, make visiting a business or event impossible. With all the effort and cost it takes to plan a trip or go to an event, lots of research is done. Okay, there is no such thing as winging it when you have an impairment. Okay, when you have a severe impairment like myself, there is no such thing as winging it. You're always doing research. You're always having a look to make sure that you can get into the places that you're going to, because there's nothing more depressing than wasted resources. Okay, because it's a real waste of time and money if you turn up to a place and you can't get into it. So, related to this, 40% of respondents said that not knowing what to expect was a barrier to travel, highlighting the benefit of more and/or more detailed information being available at the planning stage. Okay? So the information, we need more information, but we need it at the planning stage, especially. Okay? There's a need for expert advice at the planning stage as well if you want to attract this market. So creating relationships and promoting your accessibility on platforms such as disability forums, peak bodies in the area, specialist travel agents, and even the NDIS coordinators are all important. Okay? Basically, making sure that you've got the word out there, because as we discussed yesterday, okay, when it comes to planning a trip and finding information, this market is the same as any other. The research is done. Okay, and number one, the websites is the most popular. Number two is word of mouth. Okay, two-pronged, you need to do it. Now, internally, you could actually appoint an accessibility coordinator. Okay, this is someone who's across all aspects of accessibility within your organisation. Okay, this person would be responsible for answering all access queries and creating relationships with your customers. Okay, this coordinator would also address the next point of the research, okay, which is talking about service. The research highlighted a strong preference to connect with a business or destination personally, okay, either by phone or email. All right? It's one thing to see a map on there, but sometimes it is good to ring up and confirm with these people, to confirm it, to get a personal relationship happening, okay? Because, once again, you're spending so much resources and effort to do this trip. And there's a good chance that if this works out well, you'll be going back again and again. So, as an organisation, making that investment to be able to create a personal connection is worthwhile. And lastly, traditional travel agents with a strong service ethic could be important in driving conversation, especially for older travellers and those that have lower support needs. Okay? Now, these travel agents and also the internal accessibility coordinator and the need for expert advice, okay, these could all really, really help to drive the conversation, because many people with impairment have low expectations on what they can actually find and do when it comes to travel. And this advice from these people could help to expand their interest and create demand for new products. Okay? Honestly, we find it hard to be inspired when we don't know what is possible, and having an advocate for these possibilities would be an absolute boon. Okay? So, making sure the information is available at the planning stage, and making sure that you create champions amongst the people who will be promoting you. Okay? So that's planning. The final area of need, service. There's still many, many challenges around service, okay? Especially with regard to the attitudes and understanding from tourism, hospitality and events staff, and those of the public towards travellers with an impairment. This is especially a challenge, a major challenge, for young travellers with impairment and for those with hidden impairments, those that are not visibly impaired, okay? And these people that require support in much less obvious ways. And also, conversely, quality of service by staff is a key driver for recommendation across all travel categories in this subject. Okay, so service, having your staff well trained, having them aware, having them confident, okay, will make champions out of those that come and use it. And we saw that when we discussed around people with impairment, how they are more likely to dissuade others from going to a business that doesn't meet their needs. They are more likely than the rest of the population. Okay? And the other point around service is that cost is very important for many travellers with an impairment. Okay? As many need to travel with a carer or extra equipment, which makes the cost of travel higher. Okay? It's so true. Okay, as a C5 quadriplegic, because of my medical status, I'm not actually allowed to fly alone on a plane. I have to take somebody else. I can't go on a quick business trip to another state on my own. So suddenly that makes it at least twice as expensive for me to be able to go interstate. Okay? And it's the same when you start looking at the extra equipment. Many, if we're looking at just flight providers, air travel providers, most of them do allow mobility and medical equipment to go for free, and that's brilliant. Okay, and that's the sort of thing we've got to look at. So, assistance with these costs, including potentially via the NDIS, if you can get a relationship happening with them and become a provider, okay, or via special deals for those with a carer, would assist with removing barriers to more travel. Okay, and this in turn has a ripple effect in regards to ethical consumerism. Now, we discussed that in one of the earlier webinars, where ethical consumerism is the idea that people are more likely to buy from a place whose values align with their own. Okay? So those are the key ones for service. Your staff need to know what they're doing. They need to be aware. They need to have training. Okay? And then on top of that, you can also look at trying to ease the cost for those that have to bring extra people and have no choice about it. So those are the three areas of specific need within this market, and how you, as a business, can help to meet those needs. So now we're going to move on to having a look at growing the market in WA. Okay, so the opportunity to grow this market is a multifaceted project in which all key stakeholders have a role to play. Now, who are these stakeholders is first up. So let's have a look. Okay, first we have the people with impairment, their families and carers. These are the people who will be served by this project, and having direct understanding of their needs is critical at every stage along the way. We also have peak bodies that represent both the tourism and disability sectors. These people and their experience will be absolutely vital. We have government on a state and local level, and federal as well, to some degree, to all help around the infrastructure, but also with some of their experience and some of their forgotten the word. But with their experience, they can help so much. Destination management organisations such as visitor centres would be essential because these people help to direct, they help in the planning stage. And finally, you have the tourism and event service providers themselves. Okay, these are all major stakeholders in this project. Now, as we look at growing the market in this region, I want you guys to bear in mind that this part is intended as an executive overview of the stages involved and how the stakeholders outlined before will be involved. This is by no means an exhaustive how-to, and I realise there is much, much more involved in this. Okay, I have been trying to map it out for a little while, and there is quite a lot involved. So, that being said, just bear in mind that is an executive overview. But if you have any questions and you want me to deep dive into this any further, please head to www.30footdrop.com.au/live, okay, and chuck your questions in there, and I will do my best to answer them. So, the stages. There are 5 stages that are required to grow this market, okay, and they are consult, inspire and educate, correlation, promote, and lastly, build. Let's have a look at each of these closer and how the stakeholders would be involved. So, stage 1, consult. This should be the foundation of accessible tourism. In fact, this should be the foundation of anything to do with impairment, okay? It should ensure that what is offered is built on a rich understanding of what travellers with impairment actually want and need, not what people assume is needed, okay? This will help prevent misunderstandings and make sure that the final product is something that is going to work. Now, this is a responsibility for all stakeholders, okay? But government and destination management officers in particular can take a lead, as they have the resources and skills to undertake projects and research or guide others, okay? So first up is the consultation, okay? Should be between people with impairment and the tourism industry to figure out both sides. What is it each side needs and how can we actually make this work? So that's stage 1. Stage 2, inspire and educate. Okay? This stage is all about ensuring that the industry has an understanding of the potential of this sector and has provided support on how to start targeting it. Governments, destination management officers, and peak bodies should all have a role in driving this education. Further, many travellers with impairment have low expectations of what is actually available out there. Okay, so this stage is actually a two-pronged. Okay, it's educating tourism, inspiring and educating tourism by letting them know what this market's all about and what they stand to gain out of it. And then on the flip side, it's also about inspiring people with impairment, because we have low expectations of what's available. While our aspiration to travel is high, the task here is to encourage us to explore and test our boundaries. Okay? Peak bodies and service providers can play a strong role here, as can individual operators. Okay? We need people to be able to look creatively at a problem, to try and expand the horizons of this market. Okay? So that's inspire and educate. Stage 3 will be collate. Okay? This is bringing the experiences together to provide a holistic offering in some key destinations that will help the traveller plan and navigate their trip. Okay, so this is using places or sites that are run by DMOs around specific regions, being able to offer a whole load of information in one place. So whether that would be on a state level or a region level, that all depends on how people decide to go. Okay, but this way we can centralise the knowledge and have it all available in one place. Government peak bodies in both tourism and disability sectors and service providers can all potentially play a role to help identify new areas of experience and product development, or supporting infrastructure. Okay. Governments can also work with the sector in a number of ways, including improving accessibility standards in the industry and developing infrastructure that considers the complete user experience. Okay, so that's stage 3, collation. Getting all the information together in one place to help try and meet those needs. And if you think about it, these stages are all about meeting those needs. Okay? Stage 1 was consult. Okay? That's about getting the information. Okay? Stage 2, inspire and educate. That's about helping with the service. That's about getting people making people realise they need to get their information together. Stage 3, collate. Okay, that's about getting the planning ready. Okay, so stage 4. So once the first 3 stages are done, comes a very, very important stage, and that is promote. Okay. Many travellers are not aware of what is on offer. Therefore, it is important to promote what is available in order to generate demand. This information needs to be easy to find, well structured, and provide the opportunity to delve further for planning and to build confidence in the experience and trip. This is the responsibility of individual businesses and destination management officers, although government can play a big role in this with the helping of the marketing. Okay, So this is information again. This is letting people know what is available out there. This is letting them know where to find the planning. This is letting them know what's been done around the service when it comes to the training side of things. Okay, so that is stage 4. Now, stage 5, build. Now, while this is not the highest priority for now, new infrastructure needs to be the subject of ongoing focus. Ensuring that new infrastructure employs universal design principles will make widening this opportunity more cost effective in the future. This is a cross-industry responsibility. Okay? This needs to be driven by everybody, and everybody needs to hold themselves accountable for it to make sure that going forward, this market continues to be properly met. So that's my 5 stages of how to grow the market. And we've also had a look at the specific needs of the market and how you can meet them as a business or organisation. So we're going to now do a little bit of an open forum session where you guys can ask any and all questions. Now, if you're not hanging around, which is fine, if you've got no questions, that is absolutely fine. But look, please take the 30 seconds to fill out the survey. Okay, it would really help us. 6 questions, 30 seconds. Head to www.30footdrop.com.au/live. Go down to the bottom there, okay? It would really, really help us out. Thank you very much to everybody. Like I said, we're doing an open forum session. I'm going to give you guys until 6:40 to get your questions in, and then I will come back and answer them. Okay, so we will chat in a moment. And we're back. It would appear that we haven't received any questions tonight. So, look, thank you very much for everybody who's hung around. And I really hope you guys have a great weekend. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and chat to you next week.